All right, today we're going to jump into a story that, well, it often flies under the radar. It's the story of the prophet Elisha, or Al-Yasa in the Islamic tradition. Now, his story isn't packed with the huge, flashy miracles you might be thinking of. Instead, it's all about a different kind of power. We're talking about the incredible strength you find in just quiet, steady patience. So let's see what his life can really teach us. So let's start with a really fundamental challenge. Just think about it for a second. How many times have you been in a situation where you knew you had the right answer, you were on the right path, but it felt like nobody was listening? This quote right here, it just nails that feeling, doesn't it? It perfectly sets the stage for a story about what you need when just being right. Well, it's just not enough. So what do you do then? What's the answer? Well, it's not about shouting louder or trying to force your point on people. The real response, when you're up against a world that just doesn't want to hear the truth, is something way deeper. It's about having this long, almost ending patience. And that one idea, it's really at the heart of everything we're about to get into. And you know who is the perfect example of this? Elisha. His entire life is like a lesson in what it means to be patient in the shadows, to stick to your mission without needing applause or some big, spectacular sign that you're succeeding. Now, to really get Elisha, you first have to understand who he followed. I mean, his whole mission started in the massive shadow of Elijah, a prophet famous for his powerful works and, well, he was a big deal. So this put Elisha in a really unique, kind of tough spot right from the get-go, and you'll see just how different they were when we look at them side by side. And this is where you really see the difference. On one hand, you've got Elijah. He was all about fire, public showdowns, and these huge dramatic events. But then you have Elisha, and his legacy? It's defined by something so much quieter, just continuity. See, his job wasn't to put on a new show. It was to patiently take that existing message and weave it day by day into the life of the community. And this brings us to a really crucial lesson, right? We tend to celebrate the big, flashy moments of change. But Elisha's story teaches us that, sometimes the most powerful work is the quiet, steady effort that just keeps the light on, day after day. It's the strength of just keeping things going. Okay, so if his mission was all about this quiet continuation, you might think it was an easy gig. But nope, he walked straight into what you could only call a marathon of rejection. He was up against a society that was totally stuck in its ways and full of doubt. And the pushback he got? Oh, it was relentless. It came from every direction. I mean, he was mocked by the very people he was trying to help. He was officially rejected by the leaders, and he got basically zero support from the community. Just imagine the psychological toll of that for a second, working so hard for people who are actively making fun of you. So when you're faced with all that opposition, what do? I mean, how do you possibly respond when it feels like the whole world is just trying to ignore you or tear you down? This question is really at the center of his entire story. See, his response wasn't some big dramatic move. It was a process. It was this patient, unwavering method. He actually doubled down on the small stuff. So this wasn't just about repeating lessons over and over. It was the slow, patient work of guiding one person at a time, of fixing small problems, and just being a model of integrity in these tiny, daily moments. These small reforms, they were the real building blocks of his work. It was all about playing the long game. And that brings us to the second huge takeaway from his life. This kind of work, the work of trying to bring truth or positive change into the world, it is so rarely a quick sprint to the finish line. Nope, it's a marathon. And it demands incredible patience, and maybe even more importantly, that grit to just keep going even when you can't even see the end. Okay, so when we think about prophets, we usually think about miracles, right? Big, amazing miracles. But with Elisha, we kind of have to dig a little deeper. We almost have to redefine what a miracle even means, because his greatest one wasn't what you'd expect at all. So unlike his predecessor, Elijah, Elisha isn't known for any of those big, flashy, supernatural events. You're not going to find stories of him calling down fire from the sky. And in a world like ours, a world that loves a good show, that might sound like a weakness. But really, that's the whole point of his story. Because here it is. This is the core of it. His true miracle was his faith. It was his stunning ability to just endure, to stay on course, to hold on to his purpose with this unshakable patience for years, no matter how much rejection he faced. That endurance, that quiet strength, that was the real miracle. So as we start to bring this all together, the ultimate lesson from Elisha's life is really about the quiet but absolutely immense power of just being steadfast. It's a totally different kind of strength, one that doesn't usually get the spotlight, but honestly, it's often the one that changes things the most in the long run. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Real strength isn't always about making a big, immediate splash. It's about having that inner resolve to stick with what's right, to hold your ground with integrity and patience, even when everything and everyone is telling you to just give up. And that is why his story is so important. The message of truth didn't just fade away after Elijah's spectacular displays. It was carried on, it was nurtured, it was kept alive, all through the quiet, consistent, and resilient strength of Elisha. He was the crucial link that made sure it all continued. And so that leaves us with a question, right? For us, living in our super fast-paced, distracted world that wants instant gratification, how do we learn from this? How do we find it in ourselves to plant those seeds of real, patient steadfastness in our own lives and in the work that we do?